once you get through it. Otherwise, you're gonna have, you know, some
Well,
cases, if you have a town administrator, one year we had 60 applicants or something.
We did with the Hillview. We had a lot of names on the Hillview at one meeting, okay? And we, we selected on the recommendation of the Hillview, okay? But we had information in our hands, and I guess that's the big concern that I have.
That's fine.
Is that I didn't have enough information to make a good decision on this, all right? I just have a piece of paper in front of me. It looks good, okay, but I didn't have a chance to talk to that person. And I was, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I was, as a joint venture in the development of a committee, all right, and this is not an attack on you, Sean, and you shouldn't take it personally. I'm just looking out for policy to be followed. That's all I'm concerned about. And we should know there's a policy. We shouldn't be making up new ways of doing things when past boards and governances have gone through a lot of work to make sure that we do things properly. And when we start going around those steps, inadvertently probably, but we shouldn't. And we should know better because once we're elected, we're supposed to know these things.
I disagree with your comments. I don't think there was anything inadvertently done, or I don't think there was a mistake of information.
There's an
It
oversight.
was all right.
There was
It
an
available
oversight?
here,
It's inadvertent.
and it didn't get to you. We agree on that. But other than that, Jeff, that's all it is.
So then
That's
you're
all
not-
it is.
You're not
Let's
familiar
just
with.
move on.
you-
We
you're
have,
not- That's not
there
to
isn't
say
a
move on.
subcommittee,
That-
Jeff.
It's a nice comment.
All right,
you
there
guys
isn't a
make.
subcommittee. It
You
was
don't
we
follow.
assigned
Do you know the blue
liaisons,
book? You follow the
and
blue
they
book?
signed liaisons, and they worked together.
The blue book's not important to you.
We didn't violate the blue book, Jeff.
Yes, you did.
We assigned liaisons. We didn't form a subcommittee. There was no subcommittee.
The screening committee.
It was
It's a
two
screening.
liaisons from this group, meet with the liaisons from that group to do a screening. Bottom line.
I would have liked to have had an in-depth conversation with the information brought by whoever the liaison is to be. It should be brought to us. And we should be able to sit here in front of that TV for people to see what we are doing. All right?
You
And
got
it
as
should be-
much information on these three candidates as you did on most other appointments that are made by this board. You got citizen activity records.
No,
and you got
not
an
on all of them.
No, you got a 2 or 3 page resume.
It doesn't ask for a resume here.
Well, is it?
It's a
form of-
supplemental.
Form of a substance. His resume is much more detailed than this.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I give up.
Yeah.
Let's move it forward, one way or the other.
All right, I want to move this thing forward. I'm
So-
going to call for a roll call vote.
Okay.
Sorry.
On, what's the motion? I think I seconded it.
Mr. Wallner's appointment to the
You can add the
EDC.
other 2 candidates if you wish. It was Shepard Spear and Douglas Mercurio.
Put them all on
No,
there. Let's do
I
it
don't
the
want
way
them all on.
You don't.
I don't want them all on.
I thought that was
Save
your
it for
point.
another time. That was not my point. I don't want them all on. They should have been all on, but they should have been all on prior
Well-
to this.
I want him on. You want him on?
Let's put them on.
You want him on?
I have no problem being included,
Let-
and I'll state up front,
let's
Mr.
be
Chairman, it is my
consistent with
intention
what
this
we've done in
evening,
the past.
it is my intention this evening to just support Mr. Wallner's nomination, but does not preclude me from supporting the other two gentlemen's nomination at a future date.
Nor does me.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Okay, so
I already read the motion.
would you reread it, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for appointment to the Economic Development Subcommittee for the term to expire on December 31st, 2014. 5 openings. Richard Wallner, 57 Lakeside Boulevard. Shepard, what's the last name? Spears. I do not have his address. And Doug Mercurio, which I don't have his address. I apologize.
Shepherd's Lakeside Boulevard also, but I don't know what Doug is.
They're in those resumes you sent.
That's okay.
Okay.
You
I seconded that, yeah.
Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. We'll start with the CPC. Mr. Mills?
You want to pull your board there, Chair or Vice Chair?
That's me. I'm the vice chair tonight. We're voting on each one, or we're voting on the whole motion?
No, it's a
just
roll
make-
call vote.
Roll call vote.
Right,
so
I
you can
understand
vote
that.
for
No, no, I
one,
understand.
You
two,
can
or all three.
vote one for, or 2 or 3.
Okay.
Give
You
the
want us
name
to
and
go for
names.
it?
But I
Names
just-
and names of those that you want
There
to.
may be some caution, and again, if one person receives a vote, and everyone else only abstains, I don't know whether the person's appointed or not. So my suggestion is this evening, go with the recommendation of the screening committee. Everybody vote for Mr. Wallner only, and again, we can come back and revisit whether or not the other two gentlemen, if they don't get any votes, we're all set. If one of them gets a vote, there's a question as to whether or not they are actually appointed or not. Even though they didn't attain a majority, they got a vote. So I would caution everybody at this particular juncture to just support Mr. Wallner's
All
nomination.
right, why don't we start with the board, and then we'll give them
I
a
was
chance.
ready.
Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Wallner.
Mr. Wallner.
Prisco. Mr.
Enthusiastically support Richard Wallner.
I will abstain.
Mr. Mills?
Mr. Wallner.
And
Mr. Baldwin.
And the chair votes Richard Wallner. One abstention.
All right.
Let's move
What's on
on.
the agenda, quickly? Let's move on. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
taking your
you for
time
having
out.
us. Bearing with us.
So just to be clear, in the future, we'll make sure that all of the CARs and any pertinent documentation that comes with them is distributed to everybody in a more timely
And
fashion.
all future votes will be a joint meeting between the two boards.
And all
Thank you.
candidates will
Thank
be
you.
on the ballot,
Thank you.
on the motion, rather. Okay, we have public hearing on the water rate. Our DPW director has walked in. We have a member of the water commissioners. Do we have more than one? Do you have any other members of your committee here? No?
Gentleman standing right
Did the Water Commission know that this was on the,
Yeah, and you have a representative from the
Yeah.
Water Commission right here.
Oh, he found out
He
through a
didn't know.
conversation I had with him yesterday.
yeah, he found out through Sean, apparently.
It was advertised publicly,
Publicly advertised, and
and it was stated by the board at the last meeting that they'd be holding a hearing tonight.
We've been waiting
fact,
for
Apologize
It
the,
was
if the
even
water
discussed-
been
department
waiting
staff
for the
did not
water
inform the
commissioners to be
commissioners.
able to meet first. We put this off.
Yeah, but they didn't meet.
they've
No
already approved
communication.
this has already been approved by
Yeah.
them, so.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Yes. Dean Rabbit, 8 Old Farm Lane. I'm aware that at your last meeting, you discussed my letter of December 5th to the Selectmen, asking you to clarify the water rates that were established last April. At the April meeting, the board voted to change to a quarterly allotment for water use. And I have several questions regarding that. The first question was whether at the time the board made that vote, they were aware that by adopting the quarterly allotment, that it created an inequity in the rates that individual users would be charged based on when their water meter was read.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. My understanding was that all meters should have been read on or about the 91st day of every quarter. That was my understanding when we went to that quarterly, changed the rates last year.
So, but you were,
So the question was, were we aware that it would create an inequity?
yes.
I
No.
personally, no.
Right.
I was not
Okay.
aware that it would create any inequity.
Well, that's one reason why I'm here tonight, so that we can discuss what the inequity is, the extent of the inequity, and what it does to individual ratepayers, as well as the revenue to the Water Commission. So, if I may, I have some things that I'd like to hand out to the board that help illustrate the situation. Basically, what I've prepared here is an example of comparison of two water users over 2 quarters, so 182 days. And both water users in this assumption use the exact same amount of water, 250 gallons a day. And water user A, its meter is read on the 91st day. Water user B is read on the 182nd day. Whereas water user they're both, excuse me, water user A is read on the 91st day and the 182nd day, and water user B's meter is read on the 110th day and then on the 182nd day. So after 182 days, everything's back in sync on the water readings. And as you can see from the example here, the amount of water that user A is charged for tier 1 is the same as user B. For tier 2, user A has a larger quantity of water charged in tier 2 than user B. But for tier 3, user B has 5,000 gallons of water in tier 3 compared to user A, who only has 500 gallons of water. The net effect of that is user B incurs a charge of $17.55 more than user A for the same amount of water over the same period of time.
That's per day. Per day. In additional
So
period.
$17.55
For the quarter.
total,
For the
for
quarter.
over 2 quarters.
Excuse me.
That's the total over 2 quarters. So for every day beyond day 92 that a meter reading is late, given the 250 gallon per day usage, it winds up being 97.5 cents per day that somebody is charged more than the other user.
Is it, no,
So
or
I
is it-
just wanted to let the board know that this is what happened here. The rationale that was explained to the board for changing this last,
Isn't that more like 9.75 cents, not 95? Because you're only talking $18 difference.
no, for every day. You don't, if it's read on the 91st day for both people, the bills are equal. If it's read on the
You're just telling me it's $17, $18 over a 6-month period. Is what
Yes.
you're paying more. So it's not $1 a day for 6 months. That'd be $180. So
No, it depends.
It's 10 cents a day.
It
It's 10 cents a
depends
day.
on when the meter is read.
Right,
So,
but I understand, but the difference is actually 10 cents a day, not almost $1.
no, you can't do it based on day. You have to look at the meter read date. If you read on, if your bill is on the 91st day, and the other person's bill is 91st day, they're equal. If,
I
as it,
see, for the additional 90 days, it's
so
$1.
for each day above 91 is when you start getting
Okay.
that. And in fact, the 92nd day is also equal because
Yep.
the rates just shift from one tier to the next.
Yep.
So that's the explanation for what the inequity is. Now, the rationale that the DPW director used to the board in April, and I believe he stated at the last meeting, and he stated in a letter to me about why this was done, was because of the software that was being used. And that they were using, North Reading was using unique software. Well, we do have somewhat of a unique rate structure as well. And my contention is, if you're going to have a rate structure with 3 tiers like we do, you need unique software to accommodate that so you can have billing that is fair to the ratepayers. So I'd like you to consider that before you consider voting to keep the rates the same. The other questions I have relate to how the $240,000 surplus was determined. It was stated that there's 240,000 surplus as a projection, but I didn't hear very much discussion as to what assumptions were made at determining that was the projection. And I guess if anybody's here from the Water Commission, I'd like to hear them discuss that.
Mr. Forty.
Thank you very much. As far as the assumption of the $240,000 surplus, that information was provided us by the Director of Public Works and Mark Clark, the Director of Water. So we get the information from them the same as the Board of Selectmen, and then we assume that they're giving us the most up-to-date information. again, it's an assumption based on